everybody. Thanks for coming today. So today on tap is number properties. As you probably know, especially if you're working through TTP, number properties is a really big topic on GMAT. Now, things changed a bit when we got into GMAT Focus. Some of the pure math DS stuff that was pretty cool that was tested in the old GMAT isn't there anymore, but they've converted a lot of it to word problems. So it's all still there. Like some of the DS remainder questions are now word problem based. Some of the DS divisibility questions are word problem based. So there's still a lot there that they can test you on. So, again, it's still an important topic. There's a lot there. If you're working through TTP, it's a big one, but once you get over that hump, you'll be in a great spot. So today I want to do some stuff there. One of the topics we love to talk about has to do with trailing zeros and digits and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool thing the GMAT can test. So that's something I want to work on a bunch today. We might get in a little bit into factorial divisibility as well. But as always, I'm going to be putting problems up, put your answers in the chat box. And look, if you struggle with something, you haven't seen this yet, it's okay. This is just here for practice so you can learn by me just providing the solution and stuff like that. And remember, all this stuff is in TTP, so you can always read about it there as well. So, all right, I'll give you guys this problem to start. All right, let's see what's coming in here. All right, a lot of good answers. Are most of you guys, and yes, you can put answers in that chat box. Are most of you guys pretty familiar with trailing zeros, the concept of trailing zeros? All right, cool. And did you learn a lot about that in target test prep? All right, sweet. So this one isn't so bad. I mean, this kind of trickles in a little bit of factorials. So in there are ways to, be able to kind of see the clearing through the trees pretty quickly. So first and foremost, it reduces down to 25 by 24 by 23 by 22 by 21, right? Now, then you ask yourself, well, we know we need a 5-2 pair for this to work itself out, right? Or to get a trailing zero, that is. Sorry, my pen tablet and the pen tool's being weird. So you need a 5-2 pair, right?
To work.
And basically, you have to ask yourself, how many 5-2 pairs am I going to get? And anytime you're dealing with consecutive numbers, you're always going to have more 2s by nature than 5s, because 2s come every 2 numbers, 5s come every 5 numbers. So rather than getting hung up on the number of 2s, which would be in the 24 and the 22, just worry about the number of 5s. And the number of 5s is going to be 2, because 25 breaks down to 5 squared. So that means there's going to be 2 TZ, which stands, of course, for trailing zeros. So this is the way you want to think about your trailing zero stuff, because if you had to do this all the way out, right, into completion, yeah, you'd still get it right, but you'd be wasting a lot of time. And this is one of the things I say all the time to my students, is that you want to be in a position where when you can trim off the clock, you do it. Because eventually the 20 seconds that you save on all of these questions, they're going to catch up with you, and you're going to bank, 2, 3, 4 minutes of extra time just by doing that. So you can't always be extra diligent, because that extra diligence will just take something that you would have gotten right anyway and wasted a bunch of time. So just keep that in mind as you're going through practice questions. All right, give this one a shot here. All right, so it's a pretty good one too. Let me ask you guys a question, because this is like a very small thing that I started doing more now than I used to. Did you guys factor out the 5th root of 5? Or did you add the 5th root of 5s together? All right, cool. Oh, nice. Okay. All right, so I like that a lot of you guys added. I used to factor out, but adding is easier because you're just skipping a step. You can always add like terms together, like 5th root of 5 plus 5th root of 5 plus 5th root of 5 plus 5th root of 5. It's just 4 times the 5th root of 5. Yeah, factoring out gets you there because you're saying this, and then, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. But there's no point. You might as well just add them together. I just think sometimes we see these bases that are odd looking, but it's the same thing as doing x plus x plus x plus x is 4x. Here, n plus 1 plus 1 is 4. So anyway, it's just a little slight time saver that I think is helpful. I would start doing. That's kind of my opinion. All right, so you have 4 times the 5th root of 5. all raised to the fifth, distribute, same deal as last time. We don't care about all of those twos that we're going to get from 4 to the 5. We see that we just have 1 5 here, so B has to be our answer, 1. All right, now I want to show you guys or do something that deals with digits. So that is this here. So take a look at this. All right. So did you guys find this problem easier, harder, in between in comparison to the trailing zero questions? Because we're using trailing zero principles here. I'm just curious if anyone noticed anything here. Or if you just thought it was pretty much the same thing. Oh, interesting. Well, let me ask you a question. That's so interesting. Is it easier because you knew what we were doing based on the fact? Okay, let me say harder. All right. It's always tough to tell because when I lay the groundwork for a question and you've done the core skills needed, maybe I don't know. Maybe things get easier when you see even a harder question. I mean, it's okay. I mean, we're just practicing here. It's just curious. It's just interesting that some of you said easier based on the other stuff we just did. But anyway, yeah, we're dealing with trailing zeros. So that's going to get the majority of the digits. So, and that's not 58. So we're going to take 50 to the 8th power. We have 5 to the 2 times 2 to the 1, all to the 8. We have 5 to the 16 times 2 to the 8. 8 to the 3. I mean, some of this you can do in your head. That becomes 2 to the 9. We still have 11 to the 2. So finally, 5 to the 16. 2 to the 17, 11 to the 2, right? So how many trailing zeros, or TZs as I like to call that? We have 16. The key with digit questions is you have to do with what's left over, right? So what's left over is going to be a 2 to the 1 times 11 to the 2. Okay, so how many digits is that going to get you? That's going to get you 3 digits. And that's going to be 19 digits. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too bad. I want to do a couple others. And let's see what you guys can do. But yeah, a couple different ones to deal with. So take a look at this here. Give you guys a few. All right, what about this one? Harder, easier, same to the last one? I would say probably easier. Yeah. All right, this is interesting. We don't actually need the parentheses here, so keep that in mind. You can just rewrite it. You can leave the 8 here. Now, the next thing to do is obviously to combine this, and this, right? That's going to give you times 10 to the 25. So what do we have? We have an 8 with 25 zeros, right? And that's going to give us 26 total digits. Sometimes I see students breaking it down into primes to get the trailing zeros, but remember, you know how many trailing zeros you get or how many digits you get just based on the value of 10 there. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're doing that, and don't overwork the question. So that's pretty good for trailing zeros. I want to do a little bit of factorial divisibility, then we'll call it a day, do a little Q&A, and then we can wrap up. So let me give you this guy here. All right, so it seems like you guys are good here. Now, the reason why I said this was factorial divisibility is because we're using a factorial divisibility trick here to come up with the number of trailing zeros. My question to you guys, if you're all using TTP, the answer is probably I didn't do it this way. But did anyone break this down into the prime factors of every multiple of 25? Or no? Did you guys use the shortcut? Oh, you did? Wow. You broke it down prime factor wise. Okay, interesting. All right, well, then this is good. The shortcut factorial divisibility rule is the move. Now, what does that shortcut divisibility rule tell us? It tells us how many primes that we care about are in a particular factorial. So in this case, we care about the number of fives. Again, why don't we care about the number of twos? Well, we don't care about the number of twos because there's going to be a gazillion of them. So we just focus on the number of fives. So we take 200. We divide it by 5. We get 40, right? Then we take 200 again. We divide by 5 squared. That's going to be 25 into 200. That's going to happen 8 times, right? Then we take 200. We divide it by 5 to the third. That's going to be 125. It's safe to say that 125 is the last number that's going to give us a positive quotient, right? Goes into it 1 time. We can stop there. There's a remainder. We don't care. 40 plus 8 plus 1, 49 is the number of trailing zeros because that's the number of fives. Does that shortcut make sense to everybody? I'm just going to pull up the next one I want to do. All right, cool. The shortcut's amazing. It really is. So use it when applicable. And it's not just a trailing zero shortcut. Like, for example, you could have something like the following. You have to use it again. All right. You guys use the factorial divisibility rule here. And listen, don't worry if you're a little lost here. It's okay. This is some pretty challenging stuff when you don't know how to deal with it. But when you do, it's actually pretty simple. So don't just hang out, though. We're going to do Q&A after this. If you have questions, you can certainly ask. The webinar is close to the end of the content part of this. All right. So we have 30 factorial over 6 to the n. Okay, so what do we know for something to be divisible by 6? It has to be divisible by 2 and a 3. But there's going to be more 2s than 3s. So the number of 3s is going to be the limit here. So the same deal as before. 30 divided by 3 to the 1 gives you 10. 30 divided by 3 to the 2 gives you 30 divided by 9. That's going to give you a quotient of 3. And then finally, 30 divided by 3 to the 3. That's 30 divided by 27, quotient of 1. We'll stop there. We've got these values, 10 plus 3 plus 1. The answer here is 14. So you can see this is a pretty versatile rule. And you can use it for a lot of different things. It's a great rule. Once you know it, like this stuff is cake. Or pie, or whatever term you want to use. But it's great. So get it down. Again, unfortunately, we don't have time to do leading zeros, but everything we teach about leading zeros in the TTP course is spot on. There's really no trick to it other than what we show. But yeah, this is pretty good. So I want to do some Q&A with everybody now. If you have any questions about target test prep, your GMAT, whatever it is, ask away. Any questions at all? Are the OG questions accurate? Yeah, I think they are. I mean, look, we added the OG stuff to our study plan for extra practice, right? So 100%, they're good to do. If you need extra practice outside of TTP, I've never put it this way. I've never told someone not to do OG questions. So yes, same with the practice test. The questions there are great. And remember, a little fun fact is you can repeat the practice test one time each and see fresh stuff. So you really have about 12 practice tests. People don't realize that. Any other questions? Honestly, I say to do a practice test once at the beginning and then at the way end. The problem with taking a practice test like halfway through, for example, is you haven't seen data insights except for the data sufficiency stuff. And there's just stuff you haven't seen. So like then you get it wrong. And then what? What does that mean? Okay, you did well in the topics you've done, but you haven't done well in the topics you haven't, and thus your score isn't great. I don't really see the futility in taking a practice test midway. I just think it could hurt your confidence. I think you just focus on learning, and then once that's all done, you get into the practice test phase. I mean, online tests are the downsides are just what you read about online. Maybe crazy things with technology or your proctor, scores being put on hold, security checks. But, is the online exam a real thing that you can do and can it work out? Yeah, it can. So I would say just go for it. Just, be very clear about what the rules are, follow the rules, be communicative with the proctor, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, if you got to take the GMAT and the test center isn't an option, you don't want to travel to do it online. Keep looking at open slots in the test center. People do cancel, and then you can move it if you have to, Crunching for the test with about a month. Well, it really depends if that month is actually realistic. if it's not realistic, you got to change your timeline. And I have that difficult conversation with students every so often. Just if you need 300 points in a month, like it's not happening. So like, just don't do that to yourself. There's no point. Now, if you need 100 points or like, I don't know, something, and you have a pretty good foundation, because that's another thing. If you need 150 points and you barely know the math that's tested on the GMAT, like it's not happening in a month. So anyway, if everything I'm saying doesn't apply to you, how do you crunch if you're talking about target test prep? The greatest way to go through the course is following the data in that situation. You don't get hung up on stuff that you already know, right? If you're going through a lesson and you understand it, you skim it, if that, and you move on. If you're going to a chapter test and you're doing an easy chapter test, and you're like, wow, this is really easy for me. Do you take 4 more easy tests? No, you move to the mediums, you do a couple of those, and maybe move to the hards. So you're taking the data that we're providing you, and you're making data-driven decisions of how to get through the course. That's going to help you get through it in a way that's not chaotic and it's super organized. And that could help you get to your goal in a month, presuming that you're not in the situation that I described. Yeah, the 24, 25 is fine. The 25, 26 has some extra questions or different questions. There's a lot of repeats, though. Honestly, both are good because they're both for the GMAT focus. Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, how do I cover ground faster in TTP? That's exactly what I described. That's how you do it. If you can do that. If you need the full course, you need the full course. There's not much you can do. If your GMAT's in 10 days, maybe try to do about 2 more practice tests. That could be a good number. Don't cram 3 days or less before your test. Do a lot of light prep, maybe mixed review sets in the official guide, custom tests in TTP, a lot of note card review, a lot of flashcard review. Just kind of, gliding into test day so you're not in this position where, you're super tense or nervous based on overdoing it leading into the test. Managing time, well, that's going to come with practice. As you get better and more skilled at the GMAT, organically, you should be able to get faster. The key is you can't, let 1 or 2 questions be your downfall with timing. I think that's where people get messed up the most, is they're just unwilling to let them go. There are going to be some hard questions on your GMAT, and those are the ones that you can't say, well, I'm going to spend 7 minutes, because then it's going to screw you down the line for the easier questions. And if you can look at it that way, you can become less anxious. And remember, confidence is something that'll crush anxiety. So you just got to keep at it, continue to gain that confidence. And when anxiety creeps in, the confidence should overtake that. All right. I don't see any more questions. I think we're pretty good. All right. So we should be on for next week. So, thanks for coming. And I don't know what topic we'll do, but we will see everybody next week. Have a good weekend. Safe, healthy week. If you need anything, reach out to us at TTP. Just keep grinding in your GMAT prep. So we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks, everybody.